Yeah.
I think we can start admitting them.
I made you the
Right.
co-host, right? Sanjay, you can.
Yeah. Make Rashmi also
Yeah,
co-host.
she's already a co-host. Yeah.
Admitted.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we are online.
Is my signal weak or is am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's online.
Sasha's here.
Hello, Sascha. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello from a very cold and snowy Germany.
Ah, hi, Sascha.
Hello, Gitanjali.
You can call me Geeta. I know my name is too long.
And I confess that Indian names are not really names I'm very familiar with. But I think these are really, really nice names.
Thank you so much.
Sanjay is a common name. Must be a familiar name.
Not in Germany.
Not in Germany, but I'm sure there must be many Sanjays in Germany from India.
Yeah.
People of Indian origin would be there. Hello,
Hi.
Krishna.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, Krishna. Hi, Shweta.
Hi,
Good
Sanjay.
evening.
Hi, Shweta.
Hi,
Hi,
Gitanjali.
Sanjay. Hi, Gitanjali.
Hi.
What's with the new look,
Rajiv.
Gitanjali?
Huh?
What's with the new look?
Oh,
I'm going to
God.
explain to everyone today, one after the other.
Krishna, can we see you? Can you turn on your video? We haven't seen you.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Krishna, where are you now?
In Portugal.
You're in Portugal. Okay.
Oh, wow.
It's nice. So otherwise you live
I'm
before.
actually from Kenya. I'm from Kenya.
Okay. You're from Kenya, but you are in Portugal. That's nice.
And we have an art studio.
Oh, lovely.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is my husband's work. He's an artist. And he asked me to put up my photographs here. So I have some photographs too here.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Outstanding.
And we're just on the Rio Mira. So I went for a long walk this morning and it's just amazing. So the Rio Mira goes, I don't know if you can
Oh, yeah.
see it here. And it goes goes into the Atlantic just right in front of my balcony.
Super.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So where are you all?
Krishna, I am in India. Sascha is in Germany.
Okay.
Sascha is a speaker today. There she is. You can say hello to her.
Hello.
Hi, Sascha.
Hello, Sascha.
So
hello. So nice
Yeah,
to see you today, and so nice to share a bit of my passion with you today.
Wonderful. We're looking forward to it.
Looking forward to, yeah.
And we have Rashmi, Geetanjali, Rajiv, and Shweta, all from Bangalore.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So, Geetanjali, are the participants waiting? Do we have anybody waiting?
I've disabled the waiting rooms. They can join in.
They can join in, is it? Okay. You just send a reminder in the group.
Yeah, we have about 7 more minutes.
Yeah.
Sascha, I'll just share your presentation. If you can just have a
Yeah, that would be great. So I asked somebody who knows about Zoom, and he said the sharing of a whole presentation, which really works, is only possible when I'm the host of the meeting, something like that. I have no idea why, but it's really, really nice. And thank you so much for sharing.
Sure. I'm a co-host right now. Geetanjali is hosting, and so we'll share your photos, your slides.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
How's the weather there now, Sascha?
It's snowing, it's cold,
yeah,
winter
it's
is coming, and I'm looking forward. So I plan to spend 2 months in South Africa next spring. So March and April probably, to do my trails guide course, which is step 2 in the guiding training. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to talking about South African summer. Right now, I mean, it looks like getting white Christmas, which is not very likely, but yeah, let's see, it's about 0 degrees and it's cold and it's gray. So how's the weather in India right now?
I can see it's raining around my house. I don't know about others.
It's not raining, but it's quite warm. Not
Lucky
yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's quite warm. But even when it rains, it's not really cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it rainy season right now?
No, it's very unusual to rain during this time. Rains usually happen in July, August. Then we have bit of showers in September. But it's very unusual in December,
Yeah.
January. But this time, because of some cyclone effect, we have had some.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, Prasad. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Sanjay.
Good evening. Good evening. We have our speaker and a couple of guests as well.
Very good evening to all.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have someone with 1x.
So our friend.
Yeah.
Good evening, Monica. Good evening, Monica. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes,
No.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Perfectly well, yeah.
Monica
Okay.
is not able to hear us, I think.
I think so.
I can hear.
Oh, you can hear. Okay. All right. Good evening then, Monica.
Good evening.
Once again.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah. Monica, where do you live?
Kolhapur.
Kolhapur. Okay. I think Monica lives about 1,000 kilometers, about 700 miles from Bangalore, from where we
600.
live.
Precisely.
600 miles. Yeah.
Not miles, 600 kilometers.
Kilometers from where we live.
Yeah.
Okay. She's from the neighboring state. Yeah.
She has Radhanagari close to her.
Oh, we have a farm apparently in Radhanagari.
Oh, is it so? It's one of the first place. I mean, Radhanagari was the place where I first saw the tiger.
Wow.
Really? It must have been long back.
1999.
Because in recent years it has not been
Yeah,
seen.
yeah. There's
Oh, well.
and
So there's a bison sanctuary there.
yes. There used to be a quaint forest guest house.
Yeah, there is one still.
There is one still. Okay, good to know it's still there. Yeah. It's a beautiful forest.
It's a lovely forest, yes. But now, due to loss of habitats, the bisons are lesser in number in the sanctuary and more in the farms, apparently.
Oh,
Sadly,
okay.
that's due to the loss of habitat.
So you have a working farm there,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
There's a
lovely.
visit every 15 days, every fortnight.
Nice. Monica is also from the place where the food is the spiciest as far as Maharashtra.
Oh,
is.
yes. Absolutely.
I love Indian food. I just have no idea if the food that is called Indian in Germany is real Indian food.
Yeah. So you have Indian restaurants in Germany?
Lots of
where
them.
you live? Or where
Yeah.
you live? Okay.
So Indian restaurants are quite common in Germany, and I really, really love the food.
I'm sure it will be pretty good because they would have, I don't think they would have altered the cuisine. It remains the same.
Yeah, maybe a little less spicy, that might be,
Could be,
but
could be.
I like the spicy dishes.
I remember I visited one Indian restaurant in Kenya. So
Oh.
they served palak paneer.
Yeah.
That kind of spinach. That's Indian dish. Palak, that is paneer, cottage cheese and spinach. So it's an Indian dish, but you don't get that tasty palak paneer anywhere in India. I got that in
Really?
Kenya. Yeah,
That's
I was.
great.
Yeah.
So
Maybe-
Gitanjali, how are you connected with Radhanagari? How do you know about it?
Well, long time ago, I was very active volunteer at BNHS. I've done my auditology from BNHS. I was a student of Deepak Apte.
So that's how you visited the place.
Yeah. No, not with Deepak Apte. I mean, group of friends, we visited. But I mean, during one of those camps.
Okay.
I was passing through Kolhapur 2 years back also. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Maybe next time. Probably
Yeah, yes,
I'll bring
absolutely.
you
If anybody is passing through Kolhapur, you are
How is the
Just-
situation in Maharashtra now
regarding.
regarding COVID?
It's okay. It's well in control.
Hmm.
Not so bad, but the Kolhapur, the border, Karnataka border, which is about 20 kilometers from Kolhapur, that's the first point they seal, when COVID comes in any form, anywhere in the world, we say. So, but it's much in control now.
Okay.
And they have also tightened the reins, all gearing up for the third wave.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, good evening, Valsa.
Hi,
Morning for you, I guess. Pretty
Yes,
early in the morning.
Yes,
So
and yes.
Valsa
Nice
is from Canada.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah, Canada, and we have our friend from Kampala as well.
You. It's lovely.
Hi, Babesa. Is that the right way to pronounce?
Did you ask me?
No, I'm just asking our friend from Kampala.
Okay.
Gitanjali, you know how to pronounce? Babesa.
I think, yeah.
So we have friends from different parts of the country. We have friends from Kolhapur, Belgaum. So, and we have a friend from Panvel, Rotary Club of Panvel as well.
Okay.
That's great.
Sunday evening, I think we'll have some more people joining us. We'll wait for a few more minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sanjay, you have
Rajiv,
Sorry?
you said something?
a compliment from Krishna.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Is that so? Yeah. Thanks, Krishna. That's my photograph.
That's
It's one-
beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of the jungles in Karnataka, the state where we live.
Amazing.
It's about 250 kilometers from where the city where we live.
Okay.
That's really
I
beautiful.
love it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Maybe I'll share this same photograph on the group. Everybody can make this as a background next time because it also has our fellowship logo. So
Okay,
whenever
perfect.
we are meeting, whenever the fellowship is meeting, we can use this.
Hi,
Excellent.
Vikram.
Hi, Vikram.
Hey, Sanjay. Hey, Gitanjali. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
I think we have an interactor. Bhavesh, yeah? Is it Shweta?
Yeah. Hello, Nahar. Nahar is my friend from Orissa.
Hi, Sanjay.
Nahar.
Good evening to all of you.
Good evening. Good evening. Nahar, there is a lot of background noise.
Okay, I am actually in a car, Sanjay, so maybe
Yeah. No
because of that. Yeah.
Hi, Karthik.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hi, Karthik.
Hi. I'm in a car, so I didn't want to put my video on. Go ahead.
No problem. No problem. Hi, Sundar. Good evening, Sundar. Good evening, Asha. Asha is from Mysore. Asha Divyesh is from Mysore.
Yes,
Good
hi.
evening. Hi, good evening.
Hello,
Thank you.
Sanjay.
Thanks
Good
for
evening,
joining.
all.
Thank you for joining. So we will wait. Hi, Subodh. Subodh is also there. Subodh Radhi is also there. Hi.
Good
evening, all of you.
Good evening
to everyone. Hi, Sanjay. How are you doing?
Oh, all well, Subodh. So a few of us underwent 2-day training program. So Sascha is going to tell us what real training is now. Hello, Gopinath. Gopi is our newest member, recently joined.
Hello.
Hello, Gopi.
How are you, Sanjay?
Welcome. Fine.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Welcome. So we will start, Gitanjali?
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, it's about 7:05. I think we can start.
Okay, just give me a minute. Yes, we are live. We are already live on YouTube. Yeah. Okay, here we are. Good evening, good morning, and happy day to all. This is Gitanjali Dhar. Welcome you all on behalf of Rotary Fellowship of Wildlife is for Conservation. We are a group of individuals who share a common interest of love for wildlife and willing to work towards building a future in which people and nature can thrive together. Together, we try to make protection of wildlife a way of life. Hence, we welcome all those who are yet to join our fellowship to join hands with us through our website www.rotaryfellowshipforwildlife.org. Rashmi can write the name of the website in the chat box by clicking on the join link. As of now, membership is free. We have 3 chapters right now of District 3190, an India chapter, and also a global chapter with over 270 members spread across continent. And many of you are attending here. Thanks so much for joining today. One of the very active fellowship of Rotary International under the leadership of our Rotarian Sanjay Krishna, we keep creating new opportunities for service to its Mother Earth while having fun, enhancing the Rotary experience like today's speaker session and also a lot of outings that we have been going around. Which is a monthly. The speaker session is a monthly event which happens every 5th of the month. We shall be celebrating our first anniversary on 5th of Jan. Do join us. We look forward to having you all again next month. I welcome you all again to enjoy today's session with Rotarian Sascha Christine Muller, who will take us through her experience of field guide training and conservation. Now, I request fellow Rotarian and member of my home club, Rotary eConnect, Rotarian Shweta Tallam, to introduce Rotarian Sascha and take the session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Gitanjali. A very good evening to all. Myself, Shweta Tallam, currently serving as the Director of Public Image of Rotary eConnect. and also the Interact Advisor of Redbridge International Academy. A very good evening to one and all. It's my absolute privilege to introduce you all our speaker for the day, Rotarian Sascha Christine Muller. Sascha is an engineer working for occupational health and safety. She is a conservationist by passion. She lives in southern Germany and a member of Rotary Club Oberpfälzer Wald. She lives close to Nuremberg, a city which is very famous for its Christmas market. She loves traveling, photography, does a bit of horse riding when she has the opportunity, and she loves meeting friends, cooking with friends, and talking with them. She first visited South Africa in the year 2009 and finally completed a FGA field guide course in November 2020. She intends to do the Trials Guide course guiding on foot next year. FGA SA is Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. It was formally established in 1990 by a group of professional guides aiming to set a standard for nature guiding practice. It was registered in 2005 as a Section 21 company not for gain. FGA represents individual tourist guides, nature, culture, and adventure guides, trackers and organizations involved in offering professional guiding services to members of the public. FGA is a well-known, highly regarded and respected brand across the world for all guiding and non-guiding members. From Rotarian Sascha herself. Over to you, Rotarian Sascha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shweta. Just Sascha, before you start, one request, kindly all mute your audios, and in case if you have any questions, we would like you to put them in the chat box. We will have a brief question and answer session at the end of it. Okay. All right. Over to you, Sascha. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So who's going to share? Yes. So thank you so much that I have the chance to share a bit of my passion with you today. So I've been passionate about African wildlife as a child already. And so in 2009, it was my first time in South Africa, and I instantly fell in love with the bush. So last year, I had the chance to do a field guide course. So what I would like to do today is just give you a brief impression of what I did during that field guide course, what I learned, and also have a talk about how is field guiding or field guide training connected to conservation, though field guiding itself is not a typical conservation project, but nevertheless, I think it's a part of it. And I just would like to talk with you about that topic too. So next slide, please. So first of all, a question that is very often asked is, what exactly is a field guide? So at least in Germany, many people call them the rangers, which is not quite true. But the field guide is one of those persons employed at a lodge who drives or walks guests around and explains about nature and wildlife in the game reserve. Next slide, please. So this is quite a complex topic. So last year, I had the chance to do the training because due to Corona, the theoretical part was offered as an online course, so that the practical part was reduced to 5 weeks in South Africa in a game reserve, instead of having to be there for 2 months, which is really difficult to do when you're working full-time. So the theoretical part of online course took place from the 6th of June to 12th of August. We had about 3 lectures per week. Each was connected with lots of homework, with research, with studying the learner's manual of about 500 pages. And it finished with an online exam from FGASA, the Field Guide Association of Southern Africa. So normally, at least in Germany or in Europe, for passing, you need about 50% of answers right. It's a bit different in this case. So we needed 75%. And I think every single person in that online course was panicking a bit to do the exam. So the practical part then was from mid-October to end November in Pridelands Private Game Reserve, a former buffalo hunting farm, which was bought, or at least part of it was bought by the owner of Eco Training, the organization I did the training with. And with this 20 square kilometers of Pridelands, the area itself is too small to be a real game reserve, like with every type of wildlife and the big five. But very soon after the purchase of the game reserve, the fences to Kruger were put down. So now it's part of Greater Kruger. The wildlife can roam in and roam out, and so you can see everything there that you see in Kruger as well. So during my practical part, we had 17 theory reviews. We had to do one research about historical human habitation in the Lowveld. We had 5 field observations, each with, I think, 50 questions, and we also had to have 75% right. We had a final theory exam, or the so-called slide exam. So this is, you're shown pictures of animals, of plants, of grasses, of bushes, of trees, of insects, snakes, frogs, and so on. And you have to know what it is and write it down. There are also animal calls played, like bird calls, frog calls, alarm calls, mammal calls, everything you can imagine. And you have to recognize what animal it is and to write it down. And many times you have to have 100% right to pass, because they say you have to know the sounds or the calls of the bush to be safe out there, and you have to know what you're dealing with. And I think they are right. And so the most exciting part of all those exams was the final assessment drive, which was, you just pretend to be a guide already. You treat your fellow group members as guests, and then you have a 3 to 4 hours game drive, including sundowner and hosting your guests. Yeah, and then after that, you have a decision if you passed or if you didn't pass. Fortunately, we all passed. So just to give you an overview, it's definitely not vacation. It's pretty exciting, it's amazing, it's gorgeous, but it's stressing as well. Next slide, please. So just to give you an impression about the theory, there's everything. So what they try to do during the theoretical training is to give you the big picture. It's not like, okay, that's an elephant and how might it react? This is also only a very small part, but it's like the geology, the weather and climate, how geology and weather and climate influence the vegetation, how that influences animal and wildlife. And you learn a lot about plants and grasses and how they define the state of the area you're in. And of course, you learn lots of animals living in the different habitats and biomes. It's a very complex and a very interesting topic, or it's many topics. And yes, for sure, also in the theory part, there is a bit about guiding skills, but this is much more in the practical part in the bush. Next slide, please. So what is a typical day in the bush, at least when you do the training? You wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30. Then you have a coffee and a rusk. Just, yes, to have something and to wake up. And then around 5:30, you start for a drive or a walk, which lasts more or less until 9 o'clock. It might be more. Then you have a very rich breakfast. After that, you have exams, maybe you're studying. So our group was very lucky because we had a yoga teacher with us. So what we did regularly was yoga at the water hole with the view on the water hole and the elephants having a bath or drinking. Then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have a short lunch, and then you start for another drive or walk. And then at 7 o'clock, you have dinner, and normally a gin and tonic. And with this day full of activities, full of studying, normally you're off to bed at, I don't know, 9 o'clock or something like that. I think there was one day we went to bed at 11 and it felt like having partied the whole night until 5 o'clock in the morning. And it felt like that the next morning when getting up. Next slide, please. But we were a great group. We had lots of fun. Here you see the girls of them. So actually we were two groups. There was 5 persons studying conservation, and they had a practical part in Pridelands. And then there were also 5 persons doing the practical part of the field guide course. And yes, that was us, just, yeah, enjoying the time we have in the bush. And in the Land Rover, you see at the steering wheel, that's our instructor, Richie, and it was great to have him. Very much so when we started to get nervous about the exams and stuff like that. Next slide, please. So this is our camp. It's a camp without fences. So you see the elephant standing there. There are tents you live in, so there are 2 beds, you're sharing tents, you have a little bit of space for your luggage, and that's just it. And if you need the toilet in the middle of the night, the first thing is, do I hear any sound that might be an elephant feeding, or is there any noise outside? So you are really, really careful if you walk out at night, and never without a flashlight. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is another impression of our camp. And what we also did, what was really, really exciting, was you see that picture on the right. So there were 2 days, we just packed our sleeping bags and drove out in the bush, and there we spent the night under the stars, which also means you have to light a fire, which is, it's not to keep animals away, they just know you are there then, but to keep yourself a bit warm and awake. And you always have 2 people on guard, on watch, to make sure that there's not the curious hyena starting to chew on somebody. And so you just take turns in walking around with a flashlight in circles around your sleeping group members, just to make sure everybody is safe. It might become a bit scary at times. So actually we didn't see anything dangerous. There was a leopard a few meters away, but just passing. And we heard some angry elephants or upset elephants at night. But the first time we arrived there, so you are accompanied by your instructor with a rifle and at least 1 backup with another rifle. And the first people to go to bed is the instructors and the backups. So everybody with a rifle is sleeping the whole night. So what they told us when we arrived is, okay, so last time we've been there were 3 lionesses just behind the bush, just under the bush there, and that bush was about 10 meters away. So this is not a reason to wake us up. And I just thought, oh wow, if there are 3 lionesses looking at us, you can be sure that everybody with a rifle will be awake within 10 seconds. Nothing happened. We were all safe. So yeah, it is. You have to get used to it, but it's a great experience. Next slide, please. So a camp without fences means the elephants were regularly interested in our laundry. We had 2 young hyenas that were in camp every evening. So I think they just felt safe there because young hyenas are threatened by lions, for example. And they literally chewed everything. They liked to spend the night in the study tent, and they chewed everything, including a backpack and everything in it. Next slide, please. And here you can see how big this visitor is. So on the right, you see the showers. And yeah, you can imagine how massive this gentle giant is. Next slide, please. I told you that our camp was at a waterhole or at a little dam. And yeah, this was our daily view, an animal walking the dam and then just going down to the water. You see those branches in front, and about 2 meters behind those branches, there was our study table. And the elephants very often crossed the water hole and got off on this side, on our study side, just passed us by in a distance of about 5 meters. Next slide, please. And yes, there were not only elephants. So one day when we returned from our drive, there was this lioness lying on the dam. And so we got the instruction, if you have to go to the toilet at night, this night, please be aware that this lioness might be in camp and look exactly where you are going. I'm not sure if I needed the toilet that night. Next slide, please. Yeah, and that were the elephants. I mean, I love elephants. They are so social. They are, in the best sense of the word, sometimes so human. And since it was really hot last November, and I think there were not many water holes left, they came to the water hole every single day and spent hours there just swimming, drinking, diving, playing around, having fun. And I think if you have a look at the face of this elephant, you really see the fun in there. Next slide, please. And there you see how close they can come. So in the beginning, so they sometimes got grumpy, like showing us that they do not completely like our presence. So in the beginning, the already qualified guides were really careful to keep the elephants away and protected us. And I mean, in the end, it was just you're nearly qualified field guides, you know how to do it. And it's really like, if you just stand still, look at that animal, at that giant animal and say, no, you walk around me, they do. That's really amazing. And so, yes, we were really well trained. Next slide, please. The buffaloes didn't come into camp, so there was a dry riverbed leading to the water hole, and normally in the early morning and in the afternoon, they just trooped down the riverbed and then had their drink in the water hole. Very often, not really attacked, but a bit charged by the elephants, but most of them were so stubborn, just standing there looking at the alley and I have a drink, then I leave. Next slide, please. So here you see us walking in the bush. You see that typical savanna biome and habitat of the Lowveld. And so, yeah, I don't remember which interesting thing we were looking at this morning, but I'm sure we were learning a lot. Next slide, please. So this is what it looks like when you're on your way through the bush on foot. You see the 2 instructors on front, each with a rifle. and then the others just coming behind. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning, I think. And if you have a look at the right picture, we were not lying down because we were so tired, but there were some giraffes. They're not too close actually, and they started running. And then our instructor said, just sit down. If they don't see you anymore, they might become curious and just come closer to see and to look what you're doing. So sitting down didn't work, but lying down worked. And in the end, we had 4 giraffes standing about 5 meters from us and just looking, what are you doing there? Why are you lying in the grass? And they didn't move until we got up. It was really, really amazing. Next slide, please. So this is studying in the bush. The theoretical part is very, very organized, and the practical part is organized too, but you just study what you get. You just learn to deal with the situation, to be out in the bush, to keep your eyes open, and then to explain what you see. And what we see here is a stone with a very, very smooth surface. And this means it's a rubbing post for probably a rhino. It's too small for an elephant. So it's very likely that this is a very frequently used rubbing post for a rhino and maybe a buffalo. And if it is a rhino or a buffalo, you can detect that by just having a look at the tracks around this stone. And actually, I can't see the tracks right now, and probably we have trampled them all right now. I'm sure we looked at them when we arrived. And yes, this is a way of learning in the bush. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is tracking. Since you see that the tracks are marked, I think this is one of our field observations. But what you always do in the morning is you just have a look at the tracks. You have a look at the tracks in camp, just to see what went through, what did we have. Was there maybe the lioness in camp, or did she stay on the other side of the waterhole? What about the alleys? Was there something else, maybe a leopard or something? And you also have a look, are there fresh tracks in camp or around camp, which might be useful to follow. So if you have a fresh rhino track in the early morning close to camp, that's the first thing you do. You just follow the tracks and see if you can find the rhino. And this is why tracking is so important. It's not only about knowing which animal was close, but if you look at the tracks, you can also detect, was it running, was it walking, was it maybe marking territories? So it also gives you hints what the animal was up to. Next slide, please. Yeah, but nevertheless, even out in the bush, you have to use the books. So there are, I don't know how many different types of grasses. And if you arrive in the end, at the end of winter, when everything is brown and the rains have not yet started, it's really, really difficult to find any grasses. You don't see anything because it's all brown. You have to wait for the rains. So why is it so important to know about the grasses? So for sure, every grass attracts a certain type of grazers, certain types of grazers. On the other hand, it gives you hints about the state of the area you're in. So I think I told you that Tridelands had been a buffalo hunting farm. There were far too many buffaloes in there, so it was heavily overgrazed. And you have certain types of grasses that first settle in those disturbed areas when the overgrazing has stopped. So by knowing the types of grasses, you know, is it a well-managed habitat? Is it a very disturbed area? And Tridelands at some places at least is heavily disturbed. And then there's a succession of grass types. And if you find that buffalo grass in the middle, which is a very, very palatable grass, then you know, okay, here, at least in this place, the area has fully recovered and is the right habitat for the grazing antelopes, for buffalo, and so on. So there you can also follow the process from a very disturbed area to a very healthy habitat. And this is also part of habitat management. Next slide, please. So this is one of the grasses we all loved. It's the feather-topped chloris. Very beautiful grass, by the way. Next slide, please. So very important if you want to learn to drive around guests and guide them. So it is driving a Land Rover. And so this is exactly what we did, driving training in easy and in difficult terrain. And this was actually the first day when we started driving the Rover, the Landy, and yeah, I think all those faces were really, really concentrated and like, oh my God. Next slide, please. So every single type of animal and yeah, is interesting, not only plants, also the animals, also frogs and frog nests. I mean, a frog is very sensitive if you have water pollution. So if you have frogs, you know that at least the habitat in the water is clean and everything is fine. So what we see here is the foam nest frog. And if you have a look at the right picture, it's very clear why it is called the foam nest frog, because that's what the nest is. It's a white foam and you see it all over the place close to the water holes. Actually, they are really, really nice and beautiful animals. Next slide, please. Yeah, you have to know your birds, not only the eagles and the vultures, but many birds. And during our final slide exam, we had to know about 100 bird calls, and the bird calls were also a focus during our field observations. Next slide, please. Also very important for every habitat are the insects, the degraders. In this case, the dung beetles. They are really, really useful, but they are also so nice to watch. So when two of the males start fighting because of the female and for the dung ball, so I personally could spend hours with the dung beetles. And if you just take the time and have a look at them, and then I think everybody can understand that. Next slide, please. And this is a very, very happy, so coming to the bigger things and bigger animals, this is a very, very happy and quite old buffalo bull in the mud bath. It's one of those old bulls that doesn't walk with the herd anymore, but keeps a bit away and stays lots of time in water hole. Unfortunately, these are also many times the ones that are hunted down by lions, only by whole prides, because they are alone, they are not with the herd. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is one of the lions, not the hunting ones, because many, many times it's the females that hunt, but I think a very beautiful boy. Next slide, please. And this is a dwarf mongoose, also one of the smaller animals. I like them so much. I think they are so cute. And they very, very often live in termite mounds. So if a termite people dies and disappears, the mound is home to many animals after that, including dwarf mongooses, even hyenas, several kinds of birds, and yeah, still useful until it is completely degraded. Next slide, please. Yeah, and here we have a whole family of lions. So we found them close to a zebra they had hunted about 2 or 3 days before. So this encounter was a bit on the smelly side, but nevertheless beautiful. Next slide, please. Here we have a little klipspringer watching us very suspiciously, like, who are you? And we saw that little guy only once. So there are so many people who want to see the big five. And I mean, yes, the big five are fascinating, but actually there are so many game reserves where you see the big five so often. And the little stuff like klipspringer or highspork or something like that, it's much more difficult to find them. Next slide, please. This is just a view. You still can see there are some trees that have no leaves or just starting to have leaves. So the rain had started, the trees had become green. And yeah, it was really, really fascinating how the environment changed with the start of the rains. Next slide, please. Yeah, and when the rain started, the buffaloes started fighting. And I think they were really, really happy to have a bit of green grass now, and not only the brown stuff they had a few weeks before. Next, yes. There is another termite mound, though you cannot really see that it has been one. And what you see here is a baby hyena. I have no idea. I think there are many people who don't like hyenas. I have no idea why. I personally love them because they are also very, very social animals. They are very intelligent animals. And yes, they are predators. They are really good hunters. They do not only steal from other predators. So yes, and I do not even think they are ugly. I like how they look like, but I mean, that's a matter of personal taste. Next slide, please. Yeah, that was a bit, okay, it was not really a sad story, but we didn't feel too well about that. So this is a young leopard. And one evening we just came around the corner on a road with our Land Rover. And this young one's mother was just dragging an impala, a freshly hunted impala, up the tree. And was frightened when we came around. So she dropped the impala, jumped down, disappeared. So the young one started feeding, but about, I don't know, 200 or 300 meters away, there was a hyena already waiting. And this hyena stole the carcass a bit later. So this young one, and you see the impala there in the grass in front of him. And this young one just got a few bites. But so we didn't feel very fine because we know we disturbed the mother. And fortunately, she looked very well fed. So I think she was a really, really good hunter. And the young one looked very well fed too. So probably she got another impala a short time after that. Nevertheless, it was a pity, but it was a leopard, and they are so beautiful. Next slide, please. So with this is one of the curious giraffes. They are really curious, just staring. You find them very often, and yes. And the funny thing is, if you walk through the bush, so if you see them, if you see the giraffe on that photo, it's like, okay, you always see it. No matter where there is a giraffe, you always see them. No, they blend in so perfectly. So many times you don't see anything, and then you see a trunk of a tree and something, so 4 strange things, which turn out to be the legs of a giraffe. But if you look up, it really blends in and you don't see nothing. Next slide, please. Yeah, and this is also a very old, very happy, a little creepy looking buffalo bull in his mud bath. And yeah, enjoying the cool water and the cool mud. Looks a bit creepy, I think. Next slide, please. This is a close-up of an elephant. So I told you already, I love elephants and I can't get enough from them. And it's not without risk to have them close, but I love to have them close. And normally they are really, really gentle. You just have to be careful. You have to make sure that they have escape routes so that they can go and leave if they don't want your company. And then normally it's not dangerous. You just have to be aware and pay attention and be careful, and then it's okay. Next slide, please. This is a close-up of lioness calling her young ones. Next slide, please. And here they are. It's the kindergarten. And they were also very close to the smelly zebra. Nevertheless, very, very cool and very cute. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this was an impression what I did. And just let's talk about why is field guiding or the training a part of conservation. I mean, it's not the typical conservation project, but nevertheless, I think that field guiding and also the training is a very important part. So you are trained to ethical guiding, which means don't interfere with the animals, don't stress the animals, don't chase the animals, stay on the roads as long as it is possible. And I think the more a guide is able to make his guests passionate about wildlife, the more they spread the word and their passion. And I think it's very useful for conservation if you have communities close to the game reserve that are aware that tourism is sustainable, that conservation is sustainable, and that they can also benefit from this way of tourism. So at least it supports conservation, I think. And yes, for sure, I mean, guides, they are part of conservation projects like dehorning rhinos. They are part of habitat management and animal counts and researches and stuff like that. So what's your opinion about that? And thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Sascha. That was a wonderful session.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I think we would all love to do what you did. We get a chance to do. Most of us would love to do.
Just join eco training.
Oh yeah.
But there are more organizations who do a very, very good training. And I mean, the training is it's not specific to the organization. It's a SCASA training, so they set the rules for the training. Are there any questions?
I understand. Yeah. I think, Rajiv, can you please take over and moderate the session? I think.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sascha. That was a wonderful presentation. And the pictures, especially the one, the lioness with the cubs, was very cute. It's always a pleasure to see them. And it was interesting to note a typical day in the bush. For people who are not used to it, I think a gin tonic would do wonders.
The gin tonic was an essential part of the day. That was just like, oh, wow, we have done a lot today.
Right.
We have deserved our gin and tonic.
Okay, I guess we can take questions from the members.
Yeah, Rajiv, we have Rotarian BK Prasad who has raised his hand.
Yeah.
I don't see it here. Okay, Mr. Prasad, if you don't mind, could you unmute yourself?
That's right. Good evening, Sascha. Regarding the animal behavior patterns and the threat perception, how much of that you study?
So the animal behavior is a good part because I mean, if you're out in the bush and you have to see the animal behavior and react to it. But it's more than just seeing the animal and react to it, but it's also knowing about how do they live? Do they live in families, or are they single animals roaming through the bush, like very often rhinos or stuff like that? So it's not the biggest part in the field guide training, because field guide training means you're guiding by car. So next year I plan to do the trails guide training, which means guiding on foot. And then the animal behavior will be a much, much bigger part, because then you have to take care that your guests out there on foot and very vulnerable are safe. So it is then my responsibility to have a look at an animal and say, okay, it's completely relaxed. If we are really slow and careful, we can get a bit closer, or it's already nervous. Let's go behind the next tree or the next bushes and just wait what happens. So this will be an essential part of the trail guide training, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, do we have any more questions?
So I see a comment in the chat box by my friend Vikram. He says that incidentally, gin and tonic originated from Bangalore. I didn't know about this.
Oh, wow.
So, okay. Yeah.
But it works all over the world. It's always delicious.
Yeah. Sascha, do you agree with me if I say that all these field trainings, field guide trainings, in all these field guide trainings, we need to learn more don'ts than the do's while we are in the forest?
So more don'ts than do's?
Yes.
I think one is connected to the other. I mean, sure, the big don't is don't interfere, don't stress the animals, don't take risks, like don't try to show off. On the other hand, there are, yes, the big do is just try to get people passionate about the environment, try to get people involved, try to get them connected to nature. And what I think is really, really amazing, at least for me, I mean, I come from Germany, a very industrial country. But being out there in the bush, you feel so connected to nature. And that's the big, big do for me. Just go out there and feel like a part of nature. But yes, I mean, you are completely right. There are lots of don'ts because you have to be safe and keep your guests safe out there. And I mean, it's like we are the intruders. We are in the wild animals' place. And so we have to respect them and adapt to what they need.
Thanks for that, Sascha. We have a question from Rashmi. She asks if there are any levels of training. Are there more levels of training?
Yes. So what I am now is an apprentice field guide. And for becoming a field guide, or same with a trails guide, you need a certain amount of hours out in the bush. And for changing from the apprentice trails guide to the lead guide, you also have to have a certain amount of dangerous encounters. Not dangerous because the situation is dangerous, but because the game you encounter might be dangerous. And it doesn't mean you get close. So a breeding herd of elephants in a distance of 100 meters is an encounter, but you have to prove that you are able to deal with it. And so, yes, there are certain levels, and I'm just waiting how many I can do.
Thank you, Sascha. Do we
I
have
think the three most dangerous animals are elephants, buffaloes, and rhinos. And all the three are present there in South Africa in huge numbers.
They are, and yes, they are. They can be dangerous, no question about that. And that's the reason why you have to learn how to deal with the situation during the encounters. And just, I mean, you don't try to get that close, like petting the animal. It's like, okay, watch the reaction and then think about your next steps.
Recently, we saw some videos of the South African accident, you know, where the jeeps.
I know. Eco-training accident. I'm aware of that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, things like that happen, unfortunately. And I mean, the good thing is nothing happened. Yes, okay, the car was damaged. The students have psychological support. And the elephant is fine. People are fine. The car is not that fine. But yeah, it's not like, I don't know, having a walk in the park.
That's right.
So Prasad, I think you forgot to add the fourth animal, the man.
The dangerous.
Most dangerous.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, if you have a look at habitat loss, it's not because of the animals. It's
I do agree.
Of humans. Unfortunately.
Yeah, Geetanjali has raised her hand. Yeah, Geetanjali.
Yeah, a very important note at the end of your talk, you mentioned about ethical guiding. Very important thing, I think.
Yes.
That's the essence of this course, is what I do understand. What I want to know is, what are the career prospects after doing this course, you know, like vis-a-vis the normal guides, you know, like, okay, someone has done this course and someone who's not done this course, you know, like, will there be any placement assistance given by the course organizers?
So your career prospects is when you've done the course and passed the assessment, then you can be employed at a lodge and work as a guide. There are also, I mean, in other courses, I saw people, they had done this training and then they were asked to join the park management as well. So others joined anti-poaching. So there are various chances, I think. Unfortunately, right now, I think the guiding industry suffers a lot from COVID and from travel restrictions. But under normal circumstances, there are lots of prospects of different nature in park management, tourism, anti-poaching, everything, habitat management, so everything that is connected to the national parks, the lodges, and the game reserves.
Thank you, Sascha.
I mean, there was one guy I met in another course. So I did several trails guide courses before, and part of field guide courses just without the assessments. And he was a British guy. And after, so, I mean, he had studied, I'm not sure about business administration, something like that, had started working, was somewhere in his 30s, and then did the course, the one-year program. And after that, he went back to London, and now he's working at the zoo.
Okay. Sascha, we have a question from Rashmi again. How do you keep connected to nature once you're back in a city like Germany?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, I mean, I like to be out in nature, though for sure, I mean, nature here in Germany is completely different. So I take my walks in the forest and try to, yeah, do some trekking in there. But it's always, as soon as I'm back in Germany, I'm looking forward to my next time in South Africa. That does not necessarily mean that I want to move there, but it's just part of my life.
That's
And I mean,
also
sometimes it's really like, sometimes when I'm stressed or when work becomes annoying, I just start playing my bird calls. And then it's like being back there.
and that's also one of the reasons why she has joined our fellowship.
Yeah.
All of us. All of
Right.
us.
I think so, yes.
Yeah. So, Sascha, would you like to share some, a little bit about, wildlife in Germany?
I can try to prepare a presentation. I mean, we also have national parks. We have the woods back in some places. So, I mean, German wildlife definitely is not as spectacular as it is in Africa. So we have deer, we have wolves, but we also have lots of smaller stuff like foxes and weasels and lynx, and we call them wild pigs, I think so. And I think it's really, really amazing if you do a tour in our national parks, like the Bavarian National Park or the so-called Pfälzer Wald. And there you have a lot, and the very fascinating. So normally, have you ever heard about a bird called the European bee eater? So you see them in South Africa and so during certain times of the year. And then normally you see them in Southern Europe. So I saw them in Tuscany. But with...
I request everyone to kindly go on mute, except for the speaker.
And I know that in the Pfälzer Wald, which is to the southwest of Germany, the European bee eaters have established their nests too. That's pretty amazing.
Okay. So do we have any more questions for Sascha?
Okay, all right. Sascha, I have one question for you. If we have a wildlife project, conservation project on our hands here in India, and if any of the Rotary clubs in India are interested to, pursue and take it up as a project, would your club be interested in joining hands?
So I personally definitely interested anytime. Regarding my club, I have to ask.
Okay.
Which I would happily do. And then let's see. But I mean, there are some contacts to other clubs, so we can try that too.
Yeah, because now Rotary has its seventh focus area that's supporting the environment. I'm sure we can take up global projects and global grant projects and do it. Sure, probably we'll connect with you on that.
Yes.
Let's and we are also, I would also like to tell all our friends here that we are now working on joining hands with a particular group who are working on Great Indian Bustard conservation. Great Indian Bustard is a bird which is, which basically needs, it survives on grassland habitat, and Desert National Park is where we can find most of them. And there are only about 130, 129 or 130 left in the wild now. So there are organizations who are working, and we have also spoken to a local Rotary club there. So we are keen on taking up that project. Shortly, we will make an announcement. So that's exactly why I asked, in case if there can be some support from your clubs as well. Maybe we can look forward to. And this is applicable to my friends from other clubs as well, other countries and other states. If we can all join together and do something, it will be great.
Yes, thank you. Let me also know, Sanjay. I
Sure.
can check my club also. And
Sure, Valsa. We'll get back to you. I think we will soon have a meeting on that. January 5th, we want to, come out with a concrete plan, and by January 5th, and we want to make an announcement. That's going to be our anniversary as well.
okay, wonderful.
So,
Thank you.
Sascha, a lot of good comments and appreciation for you from our members. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and for sharing your experience and knowledge with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having the chance to share my passion with you.
Thanks, Sascha. Over to you, Sanjay.
thank you. I would like to propose a formal vote of thanks. At the outset, on behalf of all our wildlifers, our entire team, I sincerely thank our speaker, Rotarian Sascha, for taking her time out and sharing her experience on field guide training in South Africa. Thank you so much, Sascha, for joining us. And I thank Rotary E-Club of eConnect for providing us the Zoom Connect. And thank you so much. And Rotarian Geetanjali there, thank you for that lovely welcome address. And Rotarian Shweta Talam for that wonderful introduction of our speaker. Sascha, I'm still not sure whether we got your club name pronounced properly. Can you please?
I think it's a very different name for everybody who is not German. So it's Oberpfälzer Wald Oberviechtag, but don't try to speak it. It's all good.
Oops. Okay.
I actually tried to, pronounce that name on Google at least about 20 times. Post that, again, I would forget.
Yeah, I think there are easier names.
Yeah. Thank you, Shweta. In spite of difficulty in pronouncing that name, you introduced our speaker. Thank you so much for that. Then
I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong.
Sorry?
I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong.
It's all good.
No, don't worry, Shweta. None of us could have done that. Nobody
Never
could have
heard
done
me
that.
pronouncing Indian names, so don't worry about the German name.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks, Rotarian Rajiv Talam, for that moderation. Thank you so much. I thank Rashmi for preparing that wonderful poster for circulation, and all the board members for their wonderful support. Last but not the least, every participant who's here, who's joining us every meeting and strengthening our hands. I think together we can make protection of wildlife a way of our life. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you,
You
everyone.
can stop recording, Geetanjali. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
So this link will be available on our website as well. So you can just click on that meeting link anytime. You can share it with your friends, those who have not been able to attend. You can share it with them. They can all watch. Okay.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
Geetanjali.
Thank you, Nagjyoti. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
We
Thanks,
should-
Krishna.
We should have a
Krishna.
session with the Nagjyoti also. She's an environmentalist.
Oh, I know. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. We will. And thank you, Krishna. Thanks for joining. My last name and your first name is the same. Right.
So
Okay,
Krishna,
thank you.
do you paint for selling or is it for self expression?
You are muted, Krishna. You're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I'm a photographer and he paints, my husband.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sascha.
Thank
Thanks
you.
once again. Let's keep in
Nice.
touch.
See you.
Let's keep in touch.
Thank
See
you.
Bye-bye,
See you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Should I end the meeting?
Yes, yes, Geetanjali. Yes,
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rajiv.